See, Charles just had the kid, man. Sorry, I didn't. Oh, dang, you're already recording. My bad.
So good. Tweet talk lit.
Slit.
It's Raphael from Tweet Talk. I'm here with Sammy from
What's
Black
up,
Real
man?
Estate
What's up, man?
Dialogue.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's a cool thing right here. So my partner Charles with Tweet Talk just had a baby.
Shout out to Charles. Congrats, bro.
Congrats, brother. So we're giving him a little rest. So we just here to chop it up a little bit, talk about the Banker movie that just came out. I guess we both saw it today for the first time. We're just going to talk about
Definitely.
our thoughts on it. So for those who don't know about The Banker, it's a movie about, it's based on a true story. The two black men in the 1950s who get together and decide to buy a bank. And they use a white guy as the front man because obviously back then they weren't trying to let black people buy anything. That's the basic premise. And it was coming out on the story was acquired by Apple. Apple was supposed to release it back in December or early January, and it got shut down and they pushed it back. And it was supposed to come out in theaters now, but now because of coronavirus, that's a dub. So it's basically just on Apple TV. You can see it. So, Sam, what do you think about the movie, man?
I thought it was great, man. It was very inspiring just to see, like he was driving and walking for dollars back then in the 60s and 50s, 60s, whenever it was. And I remember he came and said, I came here to get into real estate. And I'm like, wow, for a black man to say something like that back then, I just had so much respect for it. But I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed seeing their stories and progressions and struggles. I wish it ended differently, but there was a lot of big takeaways from it. So I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, it didn't have the best ending, at least not for the brothers, but
Yeah,
very believable. Well, I said maybe for the very end. I'm not sure about the very end. But fortunately, it's based on a true story, so it was gonna
yeah,
end like that anyway. It was like, by the time the movie was over, they were in the '60s by then, but still, you know, it didn't end. It didn't end so good for them. And the movie wasn't just about buying a bank. It was basically about them just buying real estate and building wealth just in general as black people in those times. And it was just interesting the moves they had to make to get it done.
definitely,
You know,
definitely,
uh,
definitely. Yeah, it was. I was just fascinated by seeing how they navigated the system back in those days, and you know, it's so crazy because usually we're in a position of service to, at least back in those days, to white people, but they had a white guy working for them, and they were training him to be the front man, and they were the brains behind it. So they were calculating the numbers, calculating all the percentages, and basically showing him the business. And I was just blown away by that, and it was interesting to see that role switch back then.
yeah, it was interesting from the very beginning. When he was a little kid, he was
Yeah.
listening, ear hustling, and trying to
Yep.
learn about business from a young age. Oh, like, what were some of the big takeaways for you on that movie?
Yeah. So I feel like we we can't make excuses because even those, like, everybody goes through stuff, but we have so much more access to information, to people, to resources. There are a lot fewer barriers than they faced back then. Because think about it, they had to have a whole person be the front man for $1 million business. You know what I mean? And and they still managed to succeed in the face of all of that. So for me, the first takeaway is that, if they could do it back then, facing what they faced back then, literally facing death, there's nothing we can't do now, especially if we work together, if we're open. Because think about it, he wasn't open to the partnership with his wife's acquaintance or friend or whoever Samuel L. Jackson was. He wasn't open at first, but once he became open, and even though they were different, they have, their styles ended up being complementary, and they ended up having a good business. So I feel like there's nothing we can't do together. The second is creativity. They had to get creative. They could have, cried and complained and said, oh, racism and they're against us and this, that, and the other, but they found a way. Like, he was going up to these white people proposing different options, and he ended up having a partnership with the Irishman. He tried to get the loan by, name dropping, which the guy didn't appreciate, but then he did appreciate, because he's like, wow, he's black, but he's serious and he knows his stuff. And, obviously the wife screwed him over after Irishman died. But
Right.
that was another takeaway too. So there's a lot more, but those are like the two that come to mind.
I forgot about that part, but like you said, creativity. Yeah, I
Hmm.
forgot about that part. When he first got into real estate in California, he had to get creative with the deal just to get his first deal done because he didn't
Hmm.
have enough money to purchase the property and rehab it. And he
Yep.
convinced the guy to carry like seller financing.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, some creative deal he got
Yeah.
between him and the bank, and he got it done. And also the persistence. The persistence also
Yeah.
won over the Irish guy.
Hmm.
And, sometimes you never know where you're gonna find an ally either.
Yep. Yep.
So that was interesting. Another takeaway I would say is definitely be prepared. Preparation is key. That guy knew his numbers inside and out,
Hmm.
and that went a long way too. That impressed a lot of people and got a lot of things done for him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's crazy because the what was the white guy's name? Matt or something? I forgot.
The partner, yeah, the Matt Steiner.
Matt. Matt Stein. So it's crazy because I was thinking about where he was in the beginning, and he didn't even did discussing formula. He's just so confused, and then he got to that meeting when they bought the building in downtown LA, and he's all of a sudden a master negotiator. He was able to memorize all the numbers and all this stuff, and the guy who he was negotiating with was so blown away that he's just like, hey, look, you got it here. We can have the deal on your terms. You know what I mean? So I agree with your point. Preparation is key. But they prepared him, and even when they got audited or whatever by the state, by the country or whatever it was, Treasury in Texas,
Hmm.
and what's his name played the janitor when he was listening initially before they peeped, and he was just telling them what to say. Like, he's coming in the bathroom, and they were telling him exactly. It's just amazing. They knew their stuff inside and out, but it's like back then, and honestly, to a large degree now, with black people, we have to know our stuff 10 times better than somebody else, to get an opportunity. So it's just, I was just fascinated by that. Those brothers were cold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And another takeaway is like for those listening, we gotta know our numbers. We gotta be prepared.
Hmm.
And this doesn't just go for real estate, goes for business, but not just that. I mean, just in our regular personal lives, even if you're just a regular day-to-day wage earner, know your numbers, man, your personal numbers. Know your credit score. Know your expenses. Know how much you have in the bank at any given time. You should know how much you get paid. Some people don't even know exactly how much they get paid, man, for sure. You should know what you got in the bank, your credit score, like I said.
Hmm.
Um, you should know what's going to take for you to get out of whatever predicament you're in. If you live in paycheck to paycheck, you should know how much it's going to take to get you out of that cycle. Man, know your numbers.
I agree, man.
It's a really good movie. I definitely recommend everybody go see it. I think, let me see, what else is a good point to take from that? Having good partners, choosing good partners is key.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely key.
Yep. Let's see. Oh, another one, choosing the right partner. I'm not married. I've never been married, but I could tell that his wife pushed him. His wife, I remember she was like, "What if I can get you?" I'll never forget. She said, "What if I could find a co-investor?" Like she believed in the vision. She supported the vision. She defended him. You know, when her family was kind of trying to talk down to him, like she was a ride or die for real. Like she really supported the vision, even when she didn't understand. Like she's out here, you know, pretending to be a cleaning lady, you know, to keep an eye on Matt in the branch in the bank. So, I mean, she saw the vision. You know, perhaps there were times she didn't get it, and maybe she didn't even agree, but she saw the bigger picture, and she sacrificed a lot um, for things to come true. And probably just as big a part of everything as the two guys were. You know, she had a really big part in that, and I can just imagine what he was going through and being discouraged. She was there for him. So I think that's another
Mhm.
takeaway.
Yeah, the whole partner thing, like not just the business partner, but the partners they had at home. Because you look at it,
Hmm.
the black guy's wife was very supportive, and she found him the like you said, the co-investor, the partner
Hmm.
that was good for him. And the white guy's his wife kind of like brought the whole thing down.
Hmm.
She was like poison to the whole partnership because the white guy was he was good. He was
Hmm.
appreciative of the whole thing. He was willing to work for the black people. He was like, your money is green. I mean, he came from poor background, so he wasn't tripping off for skin color. He's like,
Yeah.
they're paying me, and I'm learning from these guys, and they took me in, they took me under their wing, and she just
Hmm.
got into his ear and just poisoned the whole thing and just set it in motion to where it just came to an end, and
Yeah.
it was just crazy. I remember I've heard before like Dave Ramsey. I heard him say before like when they interview somebody for like a top position, they try to get to know the spouse before they hire somebody.
Really.
Yeah, because he said like you could have somebody come in and they'd be like really good at their job, but if they got a spouse at home that's not supportive or the spouse at home is like harassing them, they're not gonna be good at work. Like he said one time that he hired some guy and they thought this guy was going to be a superstar once they hired him. And then once he got there, the guy was not productive at all. And they couldn't figure out what was going on. And they found out that this guy's wife was calling him every day at work, like just busting him up over the phone. He just couldn't operate. But choose the right partner at home and in business.
Yeah. Crazy, man. Um, yeah. She I know for a fact she had an issue with the fact that these two guys were black. Like she's like,
Mhm.
oh, they're not smarter than you. Like she just assumed, oh, there's no way they could be smarter than you. It's not possible.
Yeah,
But
she said it. She said it. They're
yeah,
not smarter than
it's
you.
not,
She's like, how could they be?
yeah. How could these black? But it's like that's just. I mean, that was the mindset. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised she thought something like that. But it's interesting that because I think I don't think it was as big of a deal to him as it was to her. I think she influenced him to kind of turn
Right.
because in the beginning he wasn't like that. You know, otherwise he would never work for no black guys. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
feel like it was when the wife started creeping in and pressuring him and stuff like that. That's when he started to make bad decisions. You know, and just get in a whole lot of trouble, get the banks closed, and basically get these guys sent to prison.
Yeah. Another lesson to learn is there's nothing wrong with being number two sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with
I
being number
agree.
two.
I agree. Think about it. If he played his position, wasn't trying to run the bank, and just played his position, they would have taken care of him. And as things grew, and as he got more experience, because he was so young, as he got more
Right.
experience, they would have all three been very wealthy, very, very wealthy. He would have had a third of something huge if they were able to keep going and keep building. But he wanted too much too fast. Like he's a kid and he wanted to run a bank, and it's like, you know, you can't just run a bank after 3 months of experience.
Right.
Other things maybe you can, but a bank, that's a big deal. And I don't think he realized that. I think he just wanted to be in charge. Even when he walked in the first day of at the new bank, you could just tell it's like he's way in over his head. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Even just within the first seconds walking in, you're like, this is just a bad idea. It's not gonna turn out good.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
yeah, sometimes you just got to be patient until it's your time to elevate. And, there's nothing wrong with supporting someone who's showing you the ropes, because then, you'll be better off in the future. So, I mean, I was trying to do some Google search and try to figure out what happened to him, but I couldn't find anything.
Oh no, like the real
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, this is a real story, folks. This is a real
Hmm.
story that really happened. Of course, it's a Hollywood movie, so it's not going to be 100% accurate, but it's a real story. This really did happen. They really did buy two banks in the 50s or early 60s, and
Yeah,
they did go to jail. Well, I'll probably spoil the ending there, but I don't think it's that surprising anyway.
yeah. You can Google that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really surprised that's going to happen at the end.
Yeah,
Most people were not going to let that just go. But
it's crazy, man. But it's I think they said they had. I want to say, what did I say? I think they said they had over 100
177,
units, something like that. Yeah,
177 buildings and
yeah. That's
properties.
crazy though. Like, just to even think about it, like two black men owned a building in downtown LA at any point in history. That is mind blowing. Like, I need to find where that building is at and drive by, because that the fact like that blew my mind. Like in the movie, I figured, oh, maybe he's trying to buy it, maybe he's trying to buy it, but maybe they won't get it. And then they got it, and I'm like, wait a minute, you mean to tell me this building used to be owned by two black men? That's incredible. Um,
Yeah, and it was a huge building in downtown LA, prime real estate in California,
mhm.
and all the tenants were banks, or pretty much all the tenants were banks.
That is
Crazy
such a
money,
boss move.
crazy
That is
money.
such a boss move.
And they were playing with big numbers back then too. I mean, what they bought it for, like 1.5 or something like that.
Hmm.
For a commercial
What?
building now, that's not crazy, but you gotta think about it. Even like real estate investors now, there's a lot. I mean, God, know a lot of people that making good money that don't have a 1.5 million building. So they
Yeah,
were playing with some big numbers, man. You think about the 1950s. The guy was saying like making $25,000 was a lot of money back then.
that's crazy. Um, it's funny. I was thinking about when he bought I think one of the first units with the Irishman, one of the first buildings, and the white lady was just so mad, and he he told her, he said, "Oh, I own the building." She's like, "You can't own this building. This is a white building."
Yeah, yeah. So you can't own this building. It's a white building. And she called the
Yeah,
cops on him.
and then what's crazy here, the cops they had an interesting response too, because he showed them the paperwork, and they're just like, "Oh wow, like okay, I guess we should let this guy rock." Maybe, I mean, I don't know. I was surprised that they didn't really try to mess with him after they found out he actually owned it.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be more problems even after that. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
he's gonna rip up the paper. I wasn't sure what he was gonna do. Man. They left him alone. All they said was like, "You should be nice to your tenants," or some crap like that.
It's crazy.
Just goes to show you, like they said, man, the power is with the business owner and the land and the homeowner.
That's it. That's it. Everybody else is kind of at the mercy of those two parties, pretty much. They're the ones that have the control. Um, yeah, we got to own some stuff, because
Mm.
that's where the control comes at. Even if it's just a roof over your head, you
Right.
control it. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Um, yeah, that's just crazy, man. Um, it's interesting. I was thinking about also him and his wife started in a shed in her uncle or whoever's garage or whatever.
Right.
Um, and then I just popped in my mind the moment where they moved into their house, and he was asking, "Oh, what do you think this house needs?" and gave her the keys. That was just another amazing moment. Um, he started small. He started with nothing. They just had some money they had saved from the business they had in Texas,
Hmm.
and over time they were able to get the house they wanted.
Right. 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 So, like you said, they started small, and I was seeing a lot of talk on Twitter today about um, moving in with family to save money.
Uh-huh.
People are putting it down, saying, "Oh, everybody don't have family." And it's like, come on, man. But y'all just don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I think for those who can deal with their family and have a family and you work where your family's at, the amount of money you could stack is unbelievable. Provided that it's a situation you're able to live in. I think it's a no-brainer if those conditions are met because you could, save that money up, buy you a house,
Right.
um, or some other investment. Like you could hoard that money because the reality of it is, you come home to eat and sleep. Most of the time, you're gonna be at work or doing
Hmm.
activities or whatever else you do anyway. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah. So if you could live with family for a short time, while you get your finances right, that's a big key. But you have to have a plan though. You can't just be living there
Mhm.
and be living rent free, and then 5 years later you have no money, you don't have anything. You can't be in the same place you were when you moved in. Man.
Yeah,
Have a
nothing wrong with
plan.
taking some time to reset. You know,
Yeah, they stayed with family, then they got together, and then they moved out. When they
yeah,
were ready. Another thing, you gotta have the right. Yeah, you have to have the right not people working for you, but like the right legal team, like lawyers, CPAs, whatever.
hmm
They made sure they had that. One of their downfalls was when the white guy didn't use the lawyer that they trusted.
yeah,
That's another
yeah.
thing.
That was a bad move. That was a bad move because it's like, why was it a situation where he knew the lawyer that he should have worked with and he just didn't use them?
He said the guy
I
couldn't
couldn't
make
recall.
it, and instead of waiting till when the guy was available, he was in a hurry.
I just don't understand how he thought that was a good decision.
Yeah, he was in over his head.
Yeah, yeah, that didn't make any sense at all. Yeah, it's definitely important because whoever they hired, just messed up everything, and they fell on their face because all the loans and all that stuff, none of that stuff was lined up, and there was no way at that point he could have gotten out. And then 1, 2, 3, the bank was closed.
Right. And then they lost everything.
hmm Crazy, man.
It was terrible. Definitely watch that movie if you can't see it on Apple TV. I just signed up for a free trial.
Smart man.
I'm
Make
gonna
sure you
cancel.
cancel that day 7.
Yeah,
How much does it
cancel it.
cost?
I think like $5 a month.
Okay.
I'm not trying to pay them that though, because I don't even see anything on there else worthwhile.
Not even browse. That's crazy. Apple's interesting. They take your little 99 cents for storage, I guess $5 for Apple TV, $9 for Apple Music, and that's probably like millions and billions of people paying one of those three small fees or some other small fee. That's crazy. And they're making whatever they're making.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So you want to be one of the people just collecting small fees from a lot of people.
Yeah,
That works too.
it does, man.
Instead of trying to get big home runs every time.
Yeah.
What else jumped out to you from the movie?
Yeah. I think it also showed that even back then, there are white people who were trying to look out and who just kind of saw opportunities, saw a couple brothers who were doing good things, like the Irishman. He changed his tune on him, and even Matt. I think it showed two sides. And also the investor from San Francisco who came and helped him buy the bank. I think it showed too. Like even back then, there were some white people who were different. Some who actually were just trying to get this money and trying to, do business deals and trying to just invest in people who were doing good stuff. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then, it holds true today. There are some, there's good and bad in every race. So I like that they showed that as well. Yeah, that's what I would say. I wish they showed more of what happened after, because I have no idea what happened after when they got out of prison. They just said something about the Bahamas, and I
Right.
don't know. So most movies, I guess, end like that, but maybe if they at least said more of like, or even typed up on the screen more of what happened afterwards. Um,
Yeah, did
but
they die? Like, did they die broke or what happened? Like,
right, that's what I'm curious about. I'm curious about, but this just sucks, man, because they said I I want to say it said they seized all their assets or most of
yeah, they
them.
seized all the assets. They
They
took
probably would have been
everything from them.
billionaires by now. They probably would have been billionaires by now, or their heirs if they
Pretty
held
much.
on to a lot of that stuff. Because LA right now is just out of this world. They would have probably been worth hundreds of millions of dollars if they were able to hold on to a good portion of that portfolio and keep that in the family. Uh, so it kind of sucks that it didn't work out because it would have just changed the game for a lot of people, and for our people and being able to live in different places and such. But I did also like that. I didn't know that their work led to the Fair Housing Act either. Um,
Right.
so I respect them for that, for um, for standing up for that.
Yeah, you wonder, like, we never heard about this story until this movie came out.
Hmm.
Like, nothing at all. And they almost killed it because when they were supposed to release it in theaters, one of the daughters came out and said, like, one of the sons molested her or something like that. And that's what killed the movie when they first brought it out. Or you didn't hear that?
Wait, it was. Oh, not one of them two. One of their sons, like one
Yeah,
of her
like
brothers.
the one Garrett, Bernard Garrett, the one that wore the fake glasses.
One of his kids.
It said one of his kids is like, I think he remarried or something like that later on. It doesn't
Hmm.
show it, but I guess he got divorced or something.
Okay.
And like maybe his stepdaughter, like his one of his sons, allegedly like molested one of the daughters, something like that.
Okay.
So man, as soon as the movie was coming out, she came forward and says, try to put a stop to it because of the whole thing, and Apple delayed it. That's why it didn't come out back in
Was the
January.
son involved in the movie or something?
The son was involved in the production of the movie, like he was promoting it
Oh,
or some. He was connected somehow in the bit, like in the movie.
oh, okay.
He's not really a major part of the storyline, but
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Hmm.
yeah, it was some kind of funny stuff. Some
Hmm.
kind of funny stuff. I thought Apple made a mistake, but whatever.
It's a
It's
good thing
it.
that it came out. Finally came out.
Yeah. So I mean, like, know your numbers, and like, choose the right partners, and relationships are definitely key. Part of what made it possible for them to make everything happen was having relationships with people. The, Developing a
Definitely.
relationship with the Irishman and with like the guy that I didn't remember Silverstone or whatever his name was. He had relationships with big money or
Hmm.
something like that. He put up a lot of money for their investments. They don't really talk about how they know each other, but that was a relationship that was key in that movie.
Definitely.
Yeah. Even the relationship he made with the banker before the banker turned on him, the white banker in the bank. He was able to get it
That's
done.
true. That's true. I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
Yeah. So definitely know your numbers, be prepared, develop relationships, hire the right people for you, CPAs, bankers, lawyers, have the right people in your corner. Be prepared, save your money, save to invest. People say save as a
That's
fool, but
it.
you gotta start somewhere.
That's it. That's it. Even if it's $10 a week, get into the habit. And as your income grows, you just build that habit while you learn. And hey, you got to start somewhere. Everybody can't save $1,000 a month. Do what you can.
Right.
Do what you can. Start where you are, and take it from there.
Yeah. And set big goals.
That's it. That's it. Very important, man. Your goals they should scare you. They should scare you and make you want to hustle and get as close to it as possible. The higher you set it, the more you can accomplish, and you probably accomplish more. More than you think you can. So definitely, I agree with that. Set big goals.
Yeah. My guy was persistent. And we need that nowadays, man.
We do, man. Like we gotta we gotta have more grit, man. We gotta be able to push through challenges more, and you know, just think about books like Black Fortune and just reading stories about Black people who really were getting it and really were getting money and helping people and building wealth over 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and had to face more than we face. So it's like there's so much, there's nothing we can't do, but I feel like collectively we have to change our mentality and believe that we can do it. A lot of us don't believe because of whatever, but we just need to believe we can do great things and we can build wealth because we can. People did it before us with less,
Right.
whose parents were slaves or grandparents were slaves.
Hmm.
So I don't see why we can't do it.
I'm glad you brought up that book. That's a good book too, Black Fortunes.
Oh, that
Um,
book is, man, that book blew my mind. Like I saw Charles recommended it, and so I went to the library and got it maybe the next week, and I read it in
mhm.
like a few days, and I was just blown away, man.
Yeah. And if you haven't read that, it's a book about the six Black people that were like some of the earliest millionaires in America.
Hmm.
So definitely pick that up, people. Black Fortunes by I think his name was Shamari Wills, something like that. Definitely Fortunes. You get that on Amazon. They have it probably in the library. Well, I mean, once the library's open back up. But
maybe an audio version.
Yeah, maybe an audio version. Even Amazon is taking a little slow to ship right now. Definitely check out
Yeah.
Black Fortunes. You got the story of C.J. Walker and Annie Malone, which is interesting.
It was very different from the movie than in the book.
Yeah, the series is it a movie or a series?
I mean, sorry, it's like 4 episodes or something, I think.
Like a mini series?
Yes, it was very different.
Yeah, they're still not telling that story right, man.
Because I want to say, and I would believe what's in the book is more true than what was in the show.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume, but it's like, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, the book I feel like felt more real as far as their relationship, but I don't recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't recall anywhere in the book where they said Annie Malone moved to Indiana to compete with her. I don't know if that happened in the book, and I don't know if they had all this tension for years and years and years. I know, yeah, that kind of threw
I
me
haven't
off a
seen the
little bit.
series, but I can tell just from
Okay.
the trailers that is way different to like real events. Because according to the book, pretty much C.J. Walker stole the formula
Right.
from Annie Malone and took the name. She didn't even change the name of it or anything, and became like her biggest competitor. And even after all that, even though she was way more popular, Annie Malone's business was I think it was Poro Products.
I
I
think
think
so, yeah.
they're still around, I think. Or at
Oh,
least the
wow.
name, I think the name is still around, or maybe it went out of business maybe a decade or so ago. But even with CJ Walker being more popular in the papers, Annie Malone's companies did way more business.
Yeah.
She actually had money instead of just looking like money.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. It's interesting though. She does admit that she stole it. And it shows that. I mean, it shows it in the movie.
Oh, it does?
But what really threw me off was just they showed they had this long-standing beef throughout the whole movie. And I don't recall that in the book. I don't recall them ever talking much in the book about their relationship after they broke off, after CJ Walker broke off. But it was, I mean, I guess I don't want to spoil it for you, but it was very, I was just I liked it a lot. It was inspiring. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, this ain't happening in the book. But
Yeah, I'm sure
yeah.
Annie Malone was not a big fan of hers.
Yeah, probably, yeah. So maybe it's not too inaccurate. I don't know. Or maybe they got some research. Well, I don't know. The writer of that book, he did. I feel like his research could be trusted because even when he goes into how he found all this stuff, I'm like, what he has is probably more accurate. They probably splash a little Hollywood in the show.
But yeah, but that's another thing. You gotta be careful when you watch these things because we watch these fictionalized accounts of things that happen, and we kind of take it as history. Like we watch these movies and we just kind of like believe it. Like even like was it the Malcolm X movie? You know they changed stuff from the book. You know they changed stuff from real life. But when you watch that stuff like that, you kind of feel like this is how stuff really happened. You kind of
Yeah.
believe it, even though even if they don't say it like blatantly, they might not say, "Well, this is exactly what happened." You kind of just watch it and believe it.
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful with that.
Yeah, man. But no, that's a good one. That's a good one. Definitely recommend it. That was inspiring. She was really out there getting it and just showing how she built her teams and how she expanded. It's like this is someone who's doing this way back then, like
Hmm.
without technology, and you talking about a national business, like that is incredible. And I think she was probably international too. Like she was a boss for real. I wish her husband was more supportive, but she was a boss.
Yeah, There's another book called Prince of Darkness.
Hmm. I haven't read that
Char-
one.
Charles said he couldn't really get into it, but that one's about Jeremiah Hamilton. He was one of the people in Black Fortunes. He's in there too.
Hmm.
This book is all about him. He he became rich in New York, like in the early like 1900s, like like early 1900s on the stock market. And at first he was using like I think he was using like front people at first, like on some of his deals, but after a while he was just blatant with it. He was just everybody knew who he was. Everybody knew he was making money on Wall Street. They all hated him. He didn't care. He had a white wife. He wore
Wow.
a wig. Like he's like a bizarre guy, but I don't know, man. It's an interesting book. It's an interesting
Yeah.
book. He made a lot of money on Wall Street. He was a millionaire, like early 1900s, even before C.J. Walker and all them.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like if they could do it back then when people were getting hanged and lynched on the regular, like I mean, I know people go through things and there are challenges in life, but I feel like we can overcome anything. Our people we just have that within us, that ability to overcome the challenges in life and come out on top. So all those stories, that's what it says to me, that there's nothing we can't do.
Yep. And on that note, I think we could wrap it up.
All right.
There's nothing we can't do. So for the listeners, make sure you check out the Banker movie. Check out the book Black Fortunes. And also check out the book Prince of Darkness by Jeremiah Hamilton. It's Raphael with Tweet Talk. Gotta say shout out to my partner Charles. He at home with his brand new baby. Or here Nolan the Great, first of his name. You know, hustle for your last name. Here with Sammy
Yes, sir.
from Bread.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks for
That
having me, man. I
that
appreciate
real
it.
estate dialogue. Definitely check out his podcast. Give them the Twitter handle.
Oh yeah, find us on Twitter at Bread Podcast, BRED Podcast, and on Instagram at Black Real Estate Dialogue.
Yeah. You can follow me on Twitter, Raphael. My Twitter handle is at Work Money Life. You can follow the Tweet Talk podcast on Instagram at Tweet Talk Podcast. Follow my partner Charles on Twitter at Todd Billy, TODDBILLI. Um, Shout out to um, sponsors to the Tweet Talk podcast, investasateam.com. Gotta get your merch, official merch of Generational Wealth. Shout out to Don the Voice, who normally does our podcast editing. Shout out to the whole crew. All the people out there, all the Black people out there, get into it, sharing the knowledge with everybody. Xavier Miller, Chris Johnson, Aisha Selden, Erica Williams, everybody, Huddle States. Shout out to you, salute to you. Nothing that we can't do. This is Sammy from Back Real Estate Dialogue and Raphael with Tweet Talk, and we are out.
All right, we out of here.